In this video, let's have a look at some tools and add-ons that can help us to speed up the retopology process quite a bit. So here I have the retopology setup enabled as I showed you before. And now let's have a look at the tools we can use to actually draw the geometry on the other object. First of all, let's select this entire face here and let's move it over here. And of course, make sure that snapping is enabled. Let's scale it down a bit. And the most basic tool we need is the extrusion. So let's select one edge here, press E to extrude, and then with R and S we can adjust the rotation and the scale. There's a way to do this even faster by pressing Ctrl, right click, and then the selected edge will be extruded to the position where we click. And the cool thing is that the previous selected edge will also rotate accordingly, which makes something like drawing this circle around the eye super easy and convenient. Now we have an open hole over here. For that to fill, let's select all the vertices here or the two edges and press F to fill in the hole. Then if you realize that you have, for example, two less loop cuts here on the circle, you can simply press Ctrl R to add loop cuts. Now we have this preview line which appears where I hover my mouse, and basically when I hover my mouse above the center of one edge, this edge in this case, it will split this edge with a new loop. If I go over here, for example, it will split this edge with a new loop. Left click, then we are in edge slide mode. If you just want to have it in the center, right click, or if you want to have it on this new position, left click. So here, if I press Ctrl R, left click to confirm, and then right click, it will stay here in the center. Also, when you're using the loop cut tool, you can scroll the mouse wheel to add more cuts. Or if you're using the pen, you can press page up and down to add multiple cuts. Then if you want to remove an edge without deleting the geometry like this, we can use the dissolve feature by pressing X and then click on dissolve edge. Or when you have the edge selection active up there, you can simply press Ctrl X and this will dissolve the certain edge. Then if you realize one edge is not at the right spot, you can of course just move it around and rotate it. Or you can use the edge slide function by pressing G and then it will slide along the existing surface. By the way, sometimes you need to change between vertex, edge or face selection, and this you can simply do by pressing 1 for vertex, 2 for edge and 3 for face selection. Not the numbers on the numpad, but the numbers above the letters on your keyboard. And if you hold down Shift, you can even enable multiple at the same time, or simply hold down Shift and click on the options you want to have enabled here, so you can select the edges and the vertices at the same time, which can be useful sometimes, but in some cases this can be a bit hard to select the right thing. Because sometimes, for example, you want to select only this vertex here, then you have to move your mouse very close and select it, otherwise you might select the entire edge here. So personally I find it most useful to only use the vertex selection. You have to click a bit more, you have to press Shift left click to select multiple vertices, but it's very easy because you just can loosely click in the direction of one vertex and this will be selected. So it's really easy to quickly adjust the geometry. Then we have a big hole in the center here and I want to fill this with quads. We can see if I with Alt left click select the entire loop, we have 11 edges here. However, in order to close a big hole with quads, I need an even amount. So let's add another loop cut over here and then let's select the entire loop here. Now as you can see, we have 12 vertices or 12 edges, and then let's go to face and click on grid fill. Then the whole inside will be filled with quads, and down here you can play around with the span and with the rotation. Let's move this one a bit over here. Then let's pick one edge, Shift D to duplicate it, and maybe go around the nose here a tiny bit. Now you can see the geometry here is oriented wrong. Let's press L to select the entire part here and hit Shift N to flip the normals. So now let's imagine we have this geometry and I don't want to add a new face here, for example, like this. I rather want to merge these two vertices. For that, I could press M and click Merge at Center, for example. This of course works. However, there's a faster way, and this is by using the Auto Merge function up here. Let's enable this. When we go to option, we can see auto merge over here as well. And we can change the threshold. By default, it is 0.001, which I find sometimes a bit too small. This is basically the radius around the vertices, which will be detected to merge two vertices. So when they are lying very close together, they will be merged. And if I increase this to, for example, 0.01, this happens much earlier, as you can see. Of course, if you make it too big, the danger is very high that you merge vertices which you don't want. So I would check this out and don't make it too high, maybe 0.005, something like this. This should work pretty nicely. And then you can also do something like selecting two vertices, press S for scaling, and then 0 on the numpad to put them close together, and then they are merged immediately. This is, by the way, also great if you have something like this here. Extrude some edges. And now I want to extrude this one here, E, and place this next to the other. Then these two vertices will be merged automatically, which is super cool. Now, as you can see, I added this another faces here, and we have this open space in the center. Of course, with auto merge, we could place this here and hope that everything will be merged. However, you can also simply select this edge in the inside here and press F to quickly fill in the entire mesh. So these are pretty much the basic tools we have here. However, there's a little bit more I want to show you. First of all, let's have a look at two nice add-ons. So let's imagine we extrude something like this here, and I now want to add an extrusion over here. You can see with the auto merge, this is working really nicely. However, there's a nice little add-on. This can speed up the whole process. For that, let's press F4, go to Preferences, Add-ons, and search for F2. Then make sure F2 is enabled, and in the settings here, make sure that auto grab is disabled. I will tell you in a second what this option does. First of all, when you have F2 enabled, you can simply select one vertex here in the corner and press F, and this will add this additional face. And when you have this auto grab function enabled, let's just do it. It basically, after adding the face, lets you move this vertex. This can be useful to quickly adjust the surface, but sometimes it is annoying. So just try it out for yourself if you like it better, if this is enabled or not. So this F2 add-on is very useful, as you can see. And there's another useful add-on. Let's go back to the preferences and search for loop tools. This we can find if we press N under edit, up here, loop tools. And it has a lot of functionality, but here I mainly want to show you the space option. You can see if I, for example, select this loop, hold down Control, select the first and the last vertex, and the entire loop in between will be selected. It is this pick shortest path option. And now you can see that each selected edge has a different length. And if I click on the space option, each edge will get the same length, which is sometimes very useful. Or you, for example, have created a circle and it's not perfectly round. You can simply click on the circle option and it will make a perfect circle out of this. And similar as the space option here, if you want to even out the distance between different edges here, but don't want to make it as extreme as having all set to the same size immediately, you can also use the relax feature here to relax the geometry a bit. Yeah, and by the way, if you are using some of these features here a lot, simply right click on them and click on add to quick favorites. Then you have the space option, for example, here as well, which makes it even faster to use. So maybe let's add relax and the circle feature here as well. Then we can press N and then we have them here all the time. So the last option I want to show you here is the polybuild tool, which we can find over here. This is kind of a new feature, which is more or less especially useful for retopology, but I have to say I don't like it that much. I find the other tools I've showed you in combination much faster to use than this one here, but I want to show it to you because maybe you like it and want to use this for retopology. So what it basically does, you can see when I hover along the geometry, it highlights certain edges, and then we can simply left click and hold and drag out or extrude this edge here. We can still select single vertices, as you can see, and tweak this a bit, move them around. And one cool feature, when I go into a corner here and hold down Control, left click and hold, I can drag out a new face. Or if you go onto an edge and do the same, you can drag out a triangle. And when you hold down Shift and left click on these highlighted faces, you can simply delete them, as you can see. So the problem I have with this tool is that it is really limited to adding one face at a time. And sometimes if you want to use some of the other tools, you have to switch to the other tools to make everything else work properly. And when using the polybuild tool, you have to be very precise to place the mouse cursor at the right spot. So I would suggest to just test it out and see if you like it. For me, working with simply selecting an edge and then extruding this, add a few loop cuts here, move this around quickly, works much faster for me. Or in this case here, using the F2 add-on to add some quick faces in between is really fast and convenient. But yeah, maybe I'm just used to the other tools and you like the polybuild tool much more. Yeah, and now let's select this loop here, disable snapping, extrude this, and we are done adding a nice pilot glasses to our little creature. And I think this little creature is now ready for the retopology ride.